All right, final game on the Celtics road trip, and it's another close game, as every single one of them were, except for this one is a loss. So they end the road trip 2-3, not what they were looking for, especially when you're going up against two elite teams in the West in Denver and the Clippers. You were hoping to split those at least. They didn't get that done. I mean, they played them tight, both winnable. Both games they weren't able to come through down the stretch. So frustrating from that perspective. You want to see if the Celtics are going to be legitimate contenders for the East this year, that they can play with those teams in the West on the road, which you did. But you also want to see them go into other teams' home courts and beat them and play strong down towards the end of games and close out games. They didn't close out well in LA. And tonight they didn't start out well enough. I mean, you're playing on the road against really good teams. You can't have huge lulls, and ultimately the Celtics just had too big of lulls and poor shooting again to begin the game, and really not totally their fault. But after the Kemba Walker injury, which I'm going to talk about in a second, the team just seemed out of sorts and shell shocked, and Denver took advantage, and the Celtics clawed back to their credit, but weren't able to get all the way back to the point where they lost by 4. And again, a game that had Kemba played in the whole game, probably winnable. If you had sustained, as I burped there, very classy, if you had sustained playing well for longer stretches and didn't go through these lulls of really bad play and bad shooting, it's probably a game that you win also. So frustrating from that perspective. You're hoping the Celtics would win more than they lost on this road trip. It was a big road trip, and you look at that Kings loss, a game that they shouldn't have lost. You look at the Clippers lost, a game that they led late, that they lost in overtime. And you look at this game where they didn't play well for large stretches of it, and they came close to winning, but a loss. So 3 winnable games that turned into losses. That's going to hurt, especially in an Eastern Conference race that you expect is going to be really tight. With the Bucks now are better in the loss column than you are suddenly. So not great. And obviously the scariest part of the game and the biggest news coming from the game was that Kemba Walker injury, which was just a complete freak accident injury where he ran headfirst into Semi Ojeley's essentially brick wall of a body. I mean, he's literally like a human brick wall. I mean, he didn't even move an inch, and Kemba Walker ran full steam into him with his head, into his chest / gut, and Ojeley didn't move at all. But Walker immediately crumpled to the court. And the scariest part for me is that I've obviously watched sports for a long time, and I've seen a lot of injuries and scary injuries and gross injuries. This one was particularly scary because I didn't see any movement from Kemba Walker at first. I mean, I saw what I thought was maybe a blink, maybe what looked like his foot moving a little bit, but no movement from his hands. Couldn't tell if he was talking. Couldn't tell if he was really conscious. Couldn't tell if the foot moving was because he was doing it on purpose or what was happening. You didn't get that like token thumbs up from the players who go on stretchers. They like completely secured his hand, almost like a vampire in a coffin like this, and it looked really scary. I mean, obviously you don't ever want to speculate on these things, but it looked like something that could be career threatening at first because of how serious it looked, how how he just crumpled to the court, and how quickly they came out with the stretcher, and then you didn't see any movement from him. Now, the early reports are that it's a concussion and concussion-like symptoms, which is great news. I mean, you don't want to have a concussion, but it's great. It's better than the alternative of a broken neck or a spinal injury. That's, I mean, worst case scenario. So I'm hoping that's all there is, though. There's a surprisingly not a lot of information out there, and it took a really long time to what seemed like forever to have any information out on it. So I'm genuinely nervous for Kemba Walker and for the Celtics, mostly for Kemba Walker. I mean, I don't want to be insensitive here, but I'm always thinking about the Celtics, just the way it is. And obviously everybody hopes he's okay. You don't ever want to see anybody get hurt, but that one was particularly scary and just a very strange injury. So we'll see how long he misses. Hopefully it's not too long, but whatever it is, they just need to make sure he's right, because it was just a weird and really scary injury. I feel terrible for Semi Ojeley. Obviously that wasn't his fault, just a freak accident, but you don't want to be the guy that is involved that injures the other dude on purpose or by accident, unless you're Myles Garrett. Then you want to injure somebody on purpose. but that's neither here nor there. So we'll have to see what comes out of this Kemba Walker thing. In the meantime, Marcus Smart might end up playing 42 minutes a game because Hayward's out and Walker's out for, I would imagine, at least a few games at minimum. So the Celtics need help. I think the guy to bring in, I just tweeted this, Jamal Crawford. He's 39, but he's sitting there. He scores. He's a great ball handler. Bring him in. Literally, he'll sign for veterans minimum and fill a need that you have right now, which is guard depth. I think it's a no-brainer. If I was Danny Ainge, I would buy him a plane ticket right now to Boston. Sign him, get him in here. I think it would be great. Also think Carson Edwards could learn a lot from him because he's hasn't given you much this season, and I see him as a potential not as good as Jamal Crawford, who's one of the all-time great six men, but somebody he can definitely learn from. So I think, why am I playing with my hair? I think that that's the logical solution there. No matter how much time Gordon Hayward misses, still bring in, not Gordon Hayward, Kemba Walker misses, still bring in Jamal Crawford. So Celtics are back at home now. The road trip's over, thank God, and they can make amends for that loss to the Kings. We'll see how that goes. We'll see when Kemba gets back. One thing we do know before I end this is that Kyrie Irving will not be making his return to Boston this upcoming week because he's got a shoulder injury. Everybody predicted he wasn't going to play in this game before the schedule even came out. Lo and behold, he's not going to play in this game. He is a chicken with a capital C. I mean, this is not a real injury that's lasting this long. I'm sorry. This is completely something that was manufactured by Kemba Walker and his team to avoid being mercilessly booed in Boston. I feel bad for the fans who spent a lot of money on those tickets to get their boos out. But what do you expect from somebody like Kyrie, who is absolutely a chicken? I think I called him Kemba Walker a second ago. Sorry, Kemba Walker. Kyrie Irving. Big time chicken. Big time coward. Yellow belly. All right. 7 minutes is longer than I usually go. Sorry to everybody who's listening for a long time. It's late, so only 250,000 of you tonight. All right. Another Celtics loss. 2-3 on the road trip. That equals 5. That's where my head was. I will talk to you after the Kings game. See you, everybody.